Hi, everyone. This is Dr. Maria Sampoulos. I have the pleasure of having Sarah Kim with us today from Canada. Thank you, Sarah, for joining us today on this live event.
Hi, I'm happy to be here.
Uh, Dr. Kim works at Bailey Nelson in Canada, is going to give us some insight on Canada optometry and Bailey Nelson and why she chose to work there today. And I think a lot of doctors would like this kind of information as new corporations come into Canada. And I thought it was of value to get some information out there as well. Just a little bit of background on Dr. Kim. Been passionate about eye care, has completed her Bachelor's of Science degree at Calgary, University of Calgary, and then completed Doctor of Optometry degree in Southern California. So you're from the U.S. and then went back to Canada.
Yes, I did a 4-year stint in sunny California.
And you hold a lot of different positions in Canada, advisory boards and things like that. Tell us about that and how you got involved because you just kind of graduated about 4 years ago.
Oh, so a lot of those advisory positions were like previously when I was during school, but they did give me a lot of experience, I would say, into kind of coming back into Calgary and looking for a job and kind of trying to get involved in the Canadian optometry world now after spending 4 years doing it in the American in the States. So it was a
Yeah.
nice experience there. Yeah.
So tell us about yourself. 4 years new, you're a new grad. Tell us about your optometry life in Canada.
So yeah, like Dr. Safalis mentioned, I went to UC for my bachelor degree, and then I went off to Southern California for my optometry degree. Since the majority of my family was still back in Calgary, I decided it was pretty natural to come back. I've done a couple of different positions and different like modalities of work, I guess you could say, before I settled into Bailey Nelson. I kind of worked at a private practice. I worked at another corporate chain, and I also did work with a kind of a nonprofit or like a grassroots social enterprise, it was kind of called at the time. So I've done a couple different things and then settled into Bailey Nelson last year.
Yeah, what kind of made you, go choose Bailey Nelson when you made the decision right out, like, fresh out of school?
Yeah, I think it was mainly like there's obviously a lot of factors that went into it, but the main factor was a lot of my friends that were working in Calgary were actually part of Bailey Nelson. And I think the one major thing that any Bailey Nelson employee or doctor will kind of say is like the culture of the company. We're very family like, everyone's super supportive. And I think that network of doctors I met was probably like the first thing that drew me in. Um, they're the ones that are like super supportive, helped me along every step. And I was like, I want to work with these doctors on like a daily basis. So that was probably the main thing.
Yeah, what I find is with me helping doctors find jobs in the industry with my job website, Potential Careers. What I find is a lot of doctors will ask doctor referrals. Like, they'll ask, what do you think about this company? What do you think about that company? So that's how you kind of got involved. Is one doctor went there, the doctor had a great experience, and that's what kind of got you in there, right? Um,
Totally.
Now, are you sublease with them? Are you employed? Or what is your role with them?
I am like a kind of like a self-lease doctor. So I am an independent contractor. I'm not an employee. And that's probably something a little bit different between Canada and the States is that from kind of having experience being in the States and talking to friends from there, we don't, not a lot of optometrists in Canada are employees. We definitely work as an independent doctor in our side of our clinic, but we have the support of the company as they do the optical front.
Excellent. What are some other things that you found that sublease was an option for you when you chose to work with them?
I think there's a couple things that go into it. One was kind of coming back into Calgary in Canada. I'm just trying to get a footing of kind of the patients here, the clinics around here, kind of the niche that you find for working in primary care or whatnot. And also just like the capital to open a private practice was like not there, right? As a new graduate, you kind of want something where you can get the support from a company that's willing to help you out with, equipment, clinic settings, marketing, uh, and then you kind of just learn about the business a little bit as well. So that was kind of a interesting and nice experience with Bailey Nelson, and just having the doctors there too is like learning the billings back in Canada versus the States and stuff like that.
Give us some insight of equipment that's provided for you when you took on that sublease.
Pretty much everything. That was a really nice thing. So when they say a new grad doesn't need a lot of their equipment from school, it's very much true. As like they provide the room, the EMR system, the phoropter, the slant lamp, all my diagnostic tools, trial lenses. I think I brought in just my BIO and my lenses that I like, because they're like each doctor has kind of a preference for what lenses they use in the BIO headset. So those are the only two things I really brought in myself.
Now, culture is super important for doctors nowadays. I mean, with underlying a lot of doctors, places can't find jobs. Doctors are in need at this point. What is the culture like over there to have you choose Bailey Nelson? Because there's a lot of different corporations, practices, things like that you could have chose. What was the one thing that stood out for you with their culture that you wanted to kind of work with them?
Kind of like I mentioned before, it's just like every person that you'll kind of meet on this team, but whether it be the doctor or the director or the CEOs or even HR people, staff, everyone's very similar in the sense of just being super friendly and kind of having this like-minded set of kind of helping people with affordable eye care, and the community network, I guess you could call it. Everyone's really helpful and supportive. I've never felt that in another company where they don't want you to just see patients for the sake of seeing patients. They let you really practice the way you want to practice while still kind of being in this corporate umbrella. I don't have to see a certain amount of patients every hour or whatnot. I can practice the way I want to practice, and each doctor practices a little bit differently, and they're totally okay with that. And I've never had so much input and support from like the actual head office people being like, how can we support you? How can we like get you more patients? How can we like get you the equipment you need? You know what I mean? Like, it's very much like they want you to succeed as much as they do, kind of thing. And it's a fun environment to be around. Like everyone that you meet from the company is super fun.
Yeah, it seems like you're part of a big organization, right? I know they're in Canada. I know they're in UK and Australia. They've expanded. I think Milestone is 100 stores now. That's a pretty rapid, growth in the last few years or so. So that's great. And they're getting doctors that want to join there and partner with them, right? Because they do. I mean, everyone's like, "What's the secret of finding doctors?" I'm like, "We just leave them alone." I mean, let the doctors do what they do best, seeing patients.
Totally.
And they support you with that, and they ask for feedback, right? So so they're asking for what they can do better to make it. So it's always a constant way to improve the experience of the doctor, but also it helps our patients too. And it ultimately helps them grow as well. So I think that's important, and culture is super important now in our industry to differentiate ourselves. The corporate office differentiate themselves and really attract doctors that want to. And Bailey Nelson attracting young doctors that typically just want to be employed usually, just because it's just easier. They're right out of school, just trying to pay off loans, but they make it easy for you to kind of just take over a sublease, have your own business, and ideally make a lot more money being your own business owner than being employed. And I think, did they make that easy for you when you were hesitant starting your own practice in there? Like a lot of young ODs say that, they came out of school, they don't have a lot of practice management. Did they make that easy for you? I know you said you had a network and eye care director there to support you.
Totally. Like even like the small things like filling out the right paperwork so that you can get your billings through, that like the healthcare systems aren't, rejecting your billings from your new clinic or whatnot. I feel like that strong network of doctors that we have, even within Calgary itself, they help. They're like, this is how you do it. These are the emails that you'll need, the phone numbers. They'll FaceTime with you to be like, are you filling it out correctly? And like anything like that, there's a very much like how-to guide that we try to make for each other as new doctors kind of onboarded with the new stores. And, after a little bit, I wasn't the newest doctor, and so I was able to help the next doctor that kind of started up. And I think that's something you'll just kind of find within our like kind of group, even within Alberta, is just we have a group chat, and we'll constantly toss out questions, just being like, can you help us with this or whatnot?
Yeah, and I think that the eye care director kind of puts this team together and gives you resources, right? So you're not on your own island, and you're part of something bigger, which is great, I think, within corporate optometry. When I first started a long time ago, I didn't know a lot of these things, and to have those resources where people wanted to help, wanted you to succeed, is super helpful. Especially when we're considering starting cold, right?
Hmm.
In this thing, do you choose your own hours of operation? How is that determined? If it's like I say, one day is a little slower than another. Is there issues with you leaving early, things like that? That some of this stuff shows up sometimes in some offices.
I think they pretty much just want you to be in the clinic at like around 40 hours a week, right? And so they kind of leave it up to you to make sure that you hit those hours. Um, Probably 5 full days if you that makes it easiest for most people. And you kind of work within the mall opening hours. So for myself, my mall has certain hours, and obviously they've extended since COVID's kind of lifted the restrictions a little bit. And I'll work within those hours. Other doctors, if the malls have different hours than I, then they'll kind of also shift around with that too. Um, and obviously, the busier days at the mall are going to be weekends. And so it's kind of to your benefit to work at least a couple weekend days if you want to hit that crowd traffic. But again, they've been really easy with just flexibility of just, oh, you don't have to set hours every week. Obviously, it's nice to have that for patient's sake. But if you need to move it around or kind of swap out days, that's been easy too.
They've been flexible that, hey, you need a Wednesday off this week, you can switch it for your day off on Thursday, and it's not like an
Hmm.
issue. That's great that you have that, and there's that flexibility, but also that ability to do that and not have to kind of report or find someone to replace you or whatever the case is. So it's good to have that
Hmm.
partnership, because that's the key to corporate optometry for success on both sides, is that
Hmm.
partnership that benefits both. And I
Totally.
think you also probably, it sounds like you have a work-life balance, even though you're a sublease owner, right? And you're doing all these admin things. So it seems like this company, because it's new and has new people in it, and it's not set in its ways, understands that doctors need to have a work-life balance as well. Do you feel like you have a work-life balance?
Absolutely. Like, I think both of my siblings are more of in the business world, and we'll always talk about that. Is that I truly get to work like 10 to 6, and it is a very rare day that I have to bring work home from the office, or you'll catch me in the office on a day that I'm not supposed to be seeing patients, trying to catch up on things. Um, I very much work like 40 hours a week, and we get to mingle with the staff and have fun at work too. Um, Versus I think other careers where sometimes you are bringing work home on your laptop or you're working late at the office or whatnot. But yeah, definitely at Bailey Nelson, I can see my patients. I can have a lunch. I can you know make it home by the time for dinner kind of thing, which has been really nice.
Yeah. So you have time even during the day to kind of catch up on admin stuff, or you can kind of leave it for the next day. How many patients do you see per hour there?
I think currently I've got it set at about half an hour slot, so about two per hour. Gives us enough time to check them in. I can see them. I can take my time with them. I'm not rushed to kind of be like, just get your refraction, get out the door kind of thing. So that's one really nice thing that I've enjoyed about Bailey Nelson is I really get to just spend time with my patients and make quality appointment times with them. But yeah, it's about two per hour.
Oh, very nice. And you said check them in. Does the optical staff help you with that?
So it kind of just leaves a buffer.
Yeah. Can you give us some insight? Because some opticals don't provide that. What does the optical staff help you with your sublease?
So I think every store runs a little bit differently, but for the majority ballpark for my store is that the optical staff help check in the patient. So creating their patient file, getting all that information, especially insurance information for the later portion of the exam. They'll pre-test the patient and then bring them to me as well.
Oh, wow. And that's all included in your rent, correct?
Hmm.
Yeah, that's great. I mean, just for new docs starting out, just that is a huge help. And I think that if when you first started, some of the optical staff, that's if they're older professionals, then they probably help you with some things, some insurance and things like. I know Canada's a little different, but some business aspects. So I think having that on your team is also helpful as well.
Oh, totally. Just having some experienced staff being able to make that transition of like they know you're a newer doc, so they're like, oh, like these kind of billings or like these things are like you should watch out for, or hey, we've blocked off this slot after like all of these appointments because we know that you'll need to catch up. Like just having those staff be so much more aware of it when you first started off was really helpful.
Yeah. So tell me, so are you from Canada? Is that why you just decided to go back, or?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I was technically born in Edmonton, but I was like, after the hockey playoffs, that's kind of a touchy subject for people. But I grew up mostly in Calgary, and so that's where I went to university for my bachelor. And then I decided to leave the cold weather for a little bit, so I went to California for 4 years, and then came back to Calgary.
Yeah. So, what is the scope of practice like in Canada compared to the U.S.?
I would say, I guess it just depends because, like, if it feel, I would say Canada province wide, and again, I've only worked in one province, but from what I've heard from the other provinces, it seems to be a fairly like similar scope of practice. But from what I remember being in the States and just hearing from my different friends down there, the scope of practice in the States can kind of differ vastly between state to state. Whereas in Canada, most provincial doctors can work within the same scope, where no one's really doing lasers or injections or any of that kind of stuff. But any kind of those medications, glaucoma, all that stuff still under our scope.
Very nice. So, what's your favorite part of optometry?
Ooh, that one's tough. But I think right now it still has to be just helping people see better. It's kind of crazy how many people still come into the office nowadays being like, I just need a good pair of glasses, but I can't seem to afford anything. And so you can kind of help that portion of it. And that's, again, part of what Bailey Nelson's mission is just affordable eye care. So whether it be the exam or the glasses themselves. And so the amount of patients we just have that like light up when they see like the pricing of the glasses and they're like, that's everything. Like I can finally get glasses for myself, my family, my kids, especially at the start of the school year. And then the fun portion too, right? Like every time we bring out new designs and stuff, it's a fun, like fashionable, trendy accessory that people can have too. So it's a nice meld of both worlds, like with the medical healthcare and the fun, trendy side of it too.
Yeah, I mean, and people are happy, right? I mean, people want to
Mhm.
see you. You're providing a service. You know, you take time with the patients. It's every half hour there. You're not rushing out. I mean, it's affordable. It's not free. It's value to the patient.
Mhm.
And then they can pick out glasses that's affordable for them, but also trendy too, right? So
Mhm.
patients are happy, so they're going to come back again too. Your business is going to grow. So that's
Mhm.
important. The retention, the recalls, all that's going to be important as your sublease grows. And that's for them also do a good job on the glasses because that reflects on your practice too. So I think the two go hand in hand for that.
Yes, for sure.
What do you do outside of optometry? I know as a business owner, optometry. What are some hobbies? What are some things about Dr. Kim?
I do enjoy baking. I spend a lot of time with my two nieces. I was like, they're like 1 and 3, so I spend a lot of time with them. And I do like trying out new restaurants. I was like, that was one thing coming back from California. I was like, I want to find some good places to eat in Calgary. I used to travel more, wanted to travel more after graduating, but that was kind of on a hiatus with COVID. So hopefully I'll get back to that in the next few years. But those are probably some of the things I do right now.
Traveling, like in Canada, Europe. Where is your destination?
I'm hoping to reach Europe and like Asia at one point in my life, hopefully in the next few years. I feel like with undergrad and optometry school, I didn't really travel at all. So it's always kind of been on my bucket list to like really get out there past Canada and the States. But obviously, the past couple of years, no one's really been traveling. So that is something on my to-do list for the next few years.
Yeah, I think some doctors say they like to travel and they find that employment might be the
Mhm.
best option for that. But I kind of challenge that because I've been sublease owner, practice owner for a while, and I say, hey, you can travel, you can do whatever you want to do. It might not be hey in March or something like that, but maybe it's around here in the U.S. Around 4th of July time. It's no one's around, so that's when I used to always take vacation and things like that, and then you
Right.
become friends with doctors that want to help you out, even if it's not for 40 hours. It might be, 20 hours that week, whatever the case is, and you help each other out to do that. So with having that network or having that camaraderie can help you do that if that's what your passion is. And
Totally.
I think that's a big myth in corporate optometry that you're kind of stuck there, 7 days a week, 80 hours and can't go vacation and things like that. And I think companies understand that doctors need to take some time off, and that week might be it. But I think it's a partnership, and you need to, maybe it's a slower time of the year or stuff like that. But I've
Totally.
done it. I go to Greece, 2 weeks a year, and it's always around 4th of July, and I like it. I get away, and then I come back recharged and
Mhm.
willing to work hard and go out of my way. I think it's important.
hmm And I think that's the nice thing is like with this network, like if you have a couple days off that you're trying to go to for a vacation or a trip, we can definitely like reach out to the doctors and we'll kind of shift around our schedule so we can cover each other's days. So that's been really nice. But
That's been
totally.
nice too, but it's
hmm
also financial freedom too, where I mean, you make a
hmm
little more money as sublease too, so you can do the things you want to do, pay off your student loans, have a house, go on vacation, support your
hmm
family. There's a lot of pros here that a lot of doctors that are employed kind of either think that's not there or have heard other stories from others. But I
hmm
think getting that, doctor to doctor conversation that work at Bailey Nelson to give doctors insight to say, hey, yeah, this is actually a good place to work. I can have my own business. I can have a work-life balance. If I'm vacation time, there's people that help me. Maybe it might not be 40 hours. And then, the eye care director works with me too, because understands that, people need to take
hmm
time off. So
Totally.
I think that's important for young ODs to know and the potential of income in a sublease is tremendous, and it starts small and then it just grows up exponentially. So usually a
Exactly.
private practice will kind of grow like 3% over the years. These grow a lot faster because of marketing and things like that, and it's beneficial, and you're not you're not burnt out if you're seeing 2 patients an hour. So
Totally.
yeah.
And the more you work, the more you make. And I feel like that's very on par with this kind of sublease model is like the effort that you put in really comes out and the company's willing to help you along the way too.
Yeah. So and I think that's been a great asset to Bailey Nelson over the last year or two as I've kind of learned a little more about them. And I think doctors are happy. Doctors seek out opportunities, and a lot of doctors, there is not a lot of turnover. And I think that
hmm
has to do with leadership. Leadership's
hmm
important in a lot of companies. It's not always about money for doctors and for a lot of companies. Sometimes it's work-life balance. It's just being appreciated. Having some insight, being involved at advisory boards, things like that, personal development. There's a lot of things that a lot of companies can offer, and it's not just about having the highest salary and seeing the most patients you can per hour. Doctors want to have a place to be part of something big, right?
hmm Totally.
Yeah. So, like you said, culture is important. So,
hmm
I want to thank you so much for joining us today. It's been very insightful. Great to hear your journey in optometry. I wish you a lot of success in your sublease. Just starting off, you got a lot of great things ahead of you. I mean, just starting off of school 4 years out, and I've been out for 15 years now, and I still think it's a great profession. I think a lot of doctors, with corporate optometry, have a great way to start a business and get started. If they love it, they can continue, or it's just a great stepping stone for them for their next step in their career. So I want to thank you again, Dr. Kim, for joining us.
Thank you for having me.